who comes out of the gate like a rocket? Tahnee Seagrave. She's done it nearly every race this season, winning the first split or up there.
I think Valley's won
And
a few first splits, yeah.
yeah, but other than that, I think Tahnee's won the rest.
Yeah.
Like that strategy and speed at the top paid off huge.
Yeah, I mean, you had, yeah, uh, watching her and Nina, like the approach is so different. Like if you had to take the time away from the corner of the screen and watch him, it's you could never say who's quicker because the riding styles are so different. Like Nina's muscling and strong, and especially like the physicality. The riders were short course, but were super pumped, like arm pump, and you're pushing off the bike and with the speeds. And then Tahnee is just sailing so smooth and just like linking the outside, the setup to the exit, the setup to the exit, and then carrying speed on the in between bits. And using the sort of shrill, like you see videos of her, like when she's in Morzine, like she can shrill turn, like just jump into the corner and rap. Not a lot of people can do that well, and she's one of the best, not just men or women, and got her into that rhythm for that run for sure. And her time that she made up from from Q2 to that final run, and also how close she was to the men's time in such a big sector. That's like quite a small deficit for the amount of time for sector one for her or for the men's times. Yeah,
I did see that. I did see that stat, and it wasn't a perfect run. She made that big error trying to jump that little rock garden before the motorway with a super Buddha.
Was that is that the one that Valley was great? That was the one that Valley was tripling all the time. And doing it.
I think so. Yeah, you like do a little step down over some rocks, then you turn left. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Tahnee had to get on the brakes and pedal up to speed. And yeah, I mean, for everyone at home, like, what do you mean they gassed out? What do you mean they're getting arm pump in 3 minutes? But other tracks, you'll have a section that links a gnarly section where you're already up to speed. You can't pedal any faster. There's no point. You can actually almost take a bit of a mental break, but also physical. Here, those linking sections out of every turn, some of them are quite flat. You've got to put pedal strokes in. After that route section that you mentioned at the top where Amri went a bit more inside, Loic went outside, you've got to get hard on the pedals. So everywhere that you were thinking normally you'd take a breath, like to win the race, you've got to raise your heart rate and build up that lactic in the legs, and then the forearms as well, because you're just fighting for speed and pumping the ground.
Yeah, and that's why it's a pity Miriam didn't end up not racing. She basically was second fastest person on track. If you look at the times on her Q1, had a massive crash the morning of qualifiers on also that spot where Maples crashed and where Omri flattered, which is probably another thing in Omri's back of his head, like that ended her weekend, it ended Maples' weekend, it almost ended his with the flat, which is why maybe he took the easier, slow approach and not gapping like the other guys. So she had crashed there and then did her quali run and literally like took on a lot of painkillers. Her arm is swollen, and a younger, dumber, less experienced pom-pom would have just done the Q2 as well, but like her arm just gave out, and she said, you know what, she's made too many bad decisions racing too soon after a head knock, and which has put her in her long-term sort of concussion injuries. And she said, you know what, even though like she literally could have won the race, she chose not to do her Q2 even after like almost winning her Q1 if she hadn't crashed, which is an admirable decision. But going back to reason I brought her up is because you talked about this race was won. Yes, there's maybe only 3 sections of the track that were enough technicality that required you to be super on it, but the race was won on all the in-between linking sections, and it was harder, like Leger, like you said, you flow out with speed and you can maintain that speed into the next section. But this one, yeah, the race was almost won off camera. We couldn't see a lot of it from the first drone angle, it was too high, and it was the getting down to the nitty-gritty, which is the linking sections, which pretty much won the race. Yeah, and that's where the great battle with Tahnee and Nina were, because she muscled back up to speed really good, and it was super close.
And did you catch up with Valley at all? I mean, she looked pretty just devastated in the finish bowl. I mean, it is always tough when you qualify fastest. You've got one goal in mind, or when you qualify well and then your final result is like less than that, which I'm not taking away from anything from her riding. And maybe we all thought the floodgates would like open after world champs, like little monkey off your back. And she did everything right. But, these races, I mean, you walk away from a weekend and you just look at the final result, and that doesn't
Yeah.
tell the whole story. That's not how well you rode for many people, i.e.,
Well,
Pinky, i.e., the guys that got flats, all these sort of things.
I-
But racing, unfortunately, you look at the result sheet.
well, obviously she wants to win races, and she'll be super happy. And she fought and dug deep for world champs, and got the job done. So she has a major win this season. And let's not forget, she didn't win the race, but she finished ahead of Gracie, who's her closest in points. So another no podium, but another solid, number for the overall. And going into winning, if she wins the overall and world champs at the end of the year, that's like a great season. But I think give it a year, or give it a couple of weeks, or give it a day, and people will forget that she hasn't won a race. Yeah, we'll bring it up in the podcast in 3 years. But, to get the overall and the rainbow jersey in the same year, that's like better than maybe winning a race to get the overall in my books, in the long term. But also, the YT mob, they've got a lot going on. Those riders, yeah, people are starting to talk. There's contract silly seasons happening, and there's already all those talks happening around the pits. You see it all over the place. But the YT riders, they got a lot more going on. Like, are they getting paid? Are they, they're already in contract negotiations. There's already two of the riders on YT Mobs have already signed contracts for next year. Um, one you could probably gather, because he's not wearing a YT Mob shirt in the final, and he's got a
I saw
safety
that.
pinned on.
So it's not a
And
conspiracy theory. It's just,
no, I guess there was an
just
early signing. I think he had an early signing bonus. So if he signed before the end of the season, he'd get an extra bonus. So, which I
what,
thought
from
then maybe
said
he'd already be
clothing
on the
company.
new. No, it's just, anyway, it's just
Just by
speculation. But
hey, we just throwing out conspiracy theories. I thought we are allowed to do that. So you're not
anyway,
giving
there's
away
other,
you're not giving away anything we haven't seen.
yeah.
It was on the
Well, I mean,
broadcast.
like I've yeah. So there's two riders already signed up for next year, and the third is pretty much a done deal. But uh, so I think Valley, you know, so I think, what, if she wins the overall and the rainbow jersey, like I don't think she gives a shit. She won a race, and she won world champs. Anyway, we've still got two races to go. She can win. She'll want to and can win at any of those two. But yeah. Imagine. No, we don't want to go there.
Well,